But very shortly, we're joined by a couple of guys who are making news today from York United of the CPL. Is President and GM Ricardo Pascal and their new gaffer, Mauro Eustaquio. Yes, they're joining us very, very shortly here on Footy Prime. A big day for York as, man, they've come a long way, Jimmy, since the days that you were patrolling the sidelines there, eh? Good hire in your opinion, Jimmy?
Yeah, actually, why not? It's another young Canadian coach. He's going to get an opportunity. I think as assistant, you try to learn as much as you can from coaches that you're working under, and you gather all that information, and then you start to kind of find your own identity of who you want to be as a coach, and you wait for these opportunities that come. And as assistant, you have to be loyal. You want to continue to have a good name in the game. And then when that chance comes, you got to take it with both hands, and this is what you wait for, these opportunities. So I'm looking forward to see Mauro how he handles the situation, and expresses himself and puts an identity on this team.
Well, let's ask him, shall we? Maro Eustaquio, congratulations, mate. Welcome to the world of main man, head coach, manager, gaffer, whatever you want to call it. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for the opportunity to obviously have me. I'm really excited with the opportunity here at the club. Obviously thankful for the ownership to believe in me. And then, I've already got started, so got to keep it going.
How did this all come around, Mauro?
It's been a process. Obviously we went through the whole interviewing process, a couple meetings with, the Pascal brothers and obviously Jorge Villalpando. During the whole process of trying to figure out what the situation with Benja was, I've always worked very closely with Benja. We were planning what the future was, or we would want it to be. They just didn't get to an agreement. And then the owners obviously talked to me, said they were going to be looking at possible coaches and wanted to interview me, and that's where it all started.
Before Ricardo joins us, your gaffer, is there anything you want to tell us, before he's here? Or you're pretty transparent?
I'm sure I talked to him more than I talked to you guys, so he knows everything that I'm thinking. But no, I think it's, like I said, I really, really appreciate the opportunity. Thankful for them to put the trust in me. Obviously, I've been at this club through a lot of different stages, having, a new opportunity to become a professional assistant coach, having ownership, not having ownership, building something new. Obviously went through a lot of situations in my personal life with the club badge on me. So there's a lot that connects me with the city of Toronto now. A lot that connects me with the CPL, and more than ever the York United. So I'm really thankful for the opportunity, like I said before, and I'm really happy for this project to get going.
Do you think it gives you a little bit of an advantage as well, knowing the club, knowing the ownership, the players, as opposed to just getting a new club where you don't really know anybody within that situation?
I would say so. I think obviously being at York Lions now, kind of full time where we've trained. I went through the Ontario Soccer Center situation, and now knowing the corners to the house, obviously it allows me to understand what the best case scenario on a daily basis is. How to get to training, when to get to training, what the players like, what the players don't like. Obviously, give a little bit of sprinkles, I guess, of my taste and what I think is best for players, how I think things should be shaped up. But that home feeling, that understanding of okay, this is our home. How can we make this a fortress? How can we create a culture? I think that's the biggest thing. I think obviously when the ownership came, that's what they wanted to establish. They wanted to establish, a culture of the club comes first. The club is a winning mentality. We fight for everything that we want. And that's something that I've been a part of at multiple teams as a player. I've been at multiple teams as starting to obviously now as a coach, and the experience of the national team, that togetherness, that brotherhood, I think it's something that I've always believed in, and I've seen that it gives results, and that's something I'll have as the backbone.
When you look at the squad that you have right now, and obviously you're coming in as a new manager, You know the squad very, very well. Is there a particular position that you want to strengthen in this offseason?
I think we want to get we want to get better in every position. I think ultimately we want to make sure that it's competitive. We want to have all the midfielders competing for 2 places, 3 places, whatever it is. We want our wingers to be okay. If I'm playing, I know the next guy, he's willing to play. He's going to be the next one running up. Obviously, looking at the squad, there's a lot of quality. I think we showed that last year, and we have to make sure that the right stay in place. And then we just got to add. I think it's about building. It's about making the right steps going forward. And I'm excited with that process.
Ricardo's here. Ricardo, big day again for York United. Mauro said there was an interview process. I'm sure there was, but you knew what you had in him. Obviously, you know each other really, really well. Was there a list though of candidates, or was it always going to be Mauro number 1?
Hey guys, first of all, thank you for having us. And yeah, Jim, just getting right to it. We did have a list. This whole process started maybe a month and a half ago. But Mauro honestly was always at the top of the list. Getting to know him this past year, the type of person he is, the dedication he puts in, day out, his knowledge of the game, obviously very young and talented. So even though we did have a bunch of candidates, surprising amount of lists that we had, Mauro was always at the top for us.
So it started 6 weeks ago. So despite the news breaking regarding Benjamin a couple of weeks ago, really now, you knew there was going to be a parting of the ways for a long time?
Yeah, it's just based on conversations, right? It's like when you officially let a player walk and you don't resign him. It's not like you make the decision that day, right? It's previous weeks and weeks of conversations. And at the end of the day, with Benjamin, he wanted to go left. We want to go right. Just the industry that we live in. And yeah, so we started planning way a few months back, maybe.
I don't want to dwell on his comments when he left, but he did question the ambition of the league and of the club. It seemed to me, I don't know, sour grapes or whatever you want to call it, not a very classy way to exit. What were your thoughts when you saw those comments?
Yeah, that it was a bit surprising from our end. Mauro is here because Mauro was in the middle of all this process. There was never bad feelings, or there was never these I don't know, face-to-face challenges that we had with Benjamin. It was a bit surprising. Maybe sometimes he talks too much, and when he talks too much, maybe your words get in the way or saying something. I'm sure that it wasn't bad blood by any means. I mean, I'm sure if you guys reach out to him, he'll have an answer of his own. But yeah, there wasn't bad blood by any means. It was just he wanted something different for his very short term. He wasn't looking for a medium to long-term plan, and that's fine with us.
Now, obviously Mauro comes aboard as an assistant coach, and now he's a main man. Hiring internally that position, that must give you guys a sense of accomplishment too, that you had someone already on the books who was ready to make that next step.
My brother and I first met Mauro about a year, more than a year ago. And the first couple of days that we had these conversations at a hotel in Toronto, in downtown, and we basically had like 6-8 hours of just meetings and meetings. And like since his first impression, it was like, we want this guy for the long run. We want to be part of the club, not just for the short or medium term. We want him in the long run. How could we pull this off? So we then offered Mauro a medium-term contract as an assistant. And then obviously a year later, when this is open, he was like, I think it's his shot. We're not shying away from that. Mauro is young. Everybody knows he's young, but we don't care about age. Age is just a number. He has a brilliant mind. He has a brilliant future. He's going to show it to you guys.
Now, Mauro, I speak to many footballers, including the two guys above you there on the screen here, Jimmy and Craig, and they tell me the different in relationships between assistant coaches and the players, and the head coach and the players. How would that be different from you? And is that going to be an adjustment, not just for you, but for the players?
There is obviously always a different relationship between the assistant and the head coach. But I think, in that there's always a base, there's always a foundation, and that's something I believe in, and is respect. So I think I've always had the respect of the players. That's always something that, funny enough, it was, in my first days at York United, I was kind of like, well, I played with some of these guys about 3 months ago. How is that? Now I'm going to be telling them, hey, you got to run. You can't be lazy. So, I quickly adjusted to that. I had the conversations that I had to have. And, that phase, it took me about 10 days to understand, what, I'm a coach, they're a player, and there has to be respect. So I think that's something that I'm going to be building on. That's something that, I've had in my personal life. I have, in my professional life. And I think I have that from the players. I've obviously been at the club. Like I said before, I know kind of the corners around the house, and I really think that won't be an issue at the end of the day. They're professionals, I'm professionals, and we know how this industry works.
So what is Mauro Eustaquio football? What is it? What's the philosophy?
Well, we want to work for everything. That's our foundation. A lot of people, come out saying, I'm obsessed with wins. I'm obsessed with, scoring a lot of goals, not conceding. I mean, at the end of the day, that's football. You want to score more, you don't want to concede, and you want to win. Mauro Eustaquio is someone that is absolutely obsessed with work. I live and I breathe this. I'm sure if you probably, cut my arm, instead of blood, there'll probably be some soccer ball out of it. But it's something that I truly believe in. I'm really, a lot of people, when I share the message back home, they're like, now the work starts. I was like, the work continues. Even as an assistant, at times you obviously work, I wouldn't say more, but maybe as much as the head coach. Obviously, different situations, obviously a little bit more on the mental side if you're a head coach, managing man management, obviously having an idea. But as an assistant, and you're cutting clips, you're analyzing your team, you're analyzing the other team, you're talking to players, you're trying to get feedback. That's something that I was always very spot on with. Obviously, working under Nashin and then under Beta, I got to get the best out of both worlds and steal a little bit from every coach that I've kind of worked with and been following. But I think the biggest thing here is the work continues. There's no increase of work. There's a lot more responsibility. Yes. But moral football is hard work. And then everything will obviously come out of that.
Ricardo, what was your analysis on last season? Because where I was sitting, certainly watching several games and covering some of the games, not a million miles off. I thought you played some really good football, and I think that just the regular season itself, it shows the way this playoff setup is, that you want to finish in those top two spots. It makes it very difficult if you don't to try to make it to the final. But what was your analysis on last season?
Hi, Craig. Bunch of different conclusions from different perspectives. Overall, I'm going to call it an okay season. They won't give any medals to a team that finished in fourth place, right? So even though most of the squad was already built when we got here, the squad had really talent, and we had a bunch of injuries that didn't help the team, obviously, especially down the stretch. But again, it was a overall an okay year, like sporting wise, from like just not on the field, off the field. It was a learning curve, right? Obviously, me and my brother and Jorge, our sporting director, getting to a new country that we didn't know much about, with families, etc. It was a learning process. It was a very kind of like a roller coaster year, right? But just overall pretty good. And looking forward to next year. As I told you, we've been a couple of months now that we've been planning forward with this, and just excited for what 2025 is going to look like.
Yeah, we have actually a question for you, Ricardo, from a fan.
Okay,
from a listener of us, right? So DV and Edmondson. First of all, he says a great podcast, and it really is a great podcast.
It is.
He says, I mentioned that off the top here, but he says, how much roster turnover can we expect, and will you be trying to attract high-profile, out-of-contract players from within the CPL, as teams like Forge and Odo have done previously, or are you focusing primarily outside the CPL for additional high-end talent?
Okay, thanks for the question. And Mauro can also jump in on this, but the contracts from most of the players, it expired this year. So it's going to be almost a completely rebuilt team. Some of the guys that were in 2024 are going to be here with us next year. But overall, the roster is going to change a lot. Maybe 70 to 80% of the roster is going to be new players.
So a significant overhaul. Jimmy, that's difficult, right?
It is difficult. So when you look at that, and you've got a lot of turnover, a new squad, pretty much, a new manager. What's your goals for this season? Is it to get into playoffs? Is it to say, okay, we're going to win a championship?
Our goals remain the same, Jimmy. It's going to be win the championship, and we know we are an ambitious guy that we know that we're going to deliver. And it's not about me being maybe cocky or whatever, but just confident from our end. Starting from me and my brother, and with Jorge, and obviously with Mauro. We know we got 4 guys that are going to give it day in, day out to build the best team possible moving forward. We're going to train hard every day to make sure we check every checkbox, what we wish of this project, and what we ask of the players, what we ask of our coaches, what we ask of our GM. And we're very confident that we're going to get there. Obviously, York hasn't never won anything in this league before, so I know you may be saying, oh, okay, that's fine. Good for you, but we're going to show it to you, Jimmy, and you're going to see it. And we're going to have this conversation in a year or so.
Sorry, Ricardo. What are the challenges that face a team like York as opposed to, say, somebody in Halifax to sign?
Many, Craig, but like regarding what, more or less?
Well, I mean, obviously rent is higher here in Toronto than it would be in Halifax, but there's also the extra traveling if you're with Halifax. I didn't know if there was any specific challenges that way that because of the high rent costs for players.
Yeah, that like there's pros and cons to everything, right? Make a balance. I think by any means we wouldn't choose other city other than Toronto, and that's why we're here. That's why we invested in here. From the living perspective, it's obviously much more higher cost. Everything, living, food, like just day-to-day life in Toronto is as you know, it's very very pricey. But at the same time, the amount and the quality of young players that exist in Toronto and the GTA area, no other city in Canada has it, and probably no other city in North America also, if I may go that way. So from that perspective, we have an advantage to other teams, and that's why we announced our League One team for next year, and some other plans that we're going to reveal in the next year.
Yeah, the League One announcement was huge, by the way. Congratulations on that. So York having a team in League One, I mean, as far as development and that pathway, that could be really important. Mauro, our boy Ona Callahan sent me a note here. He reminds me that you become the youngest ever permanent manager of a Tier 1 pro football club in North America, and the first former Canadian Premier League player to subsequently serve as a head coach in the league. So no pressure at all on you there at all. So thanks.
I put pressure on myself anyways, so I'm just gonna add that to the bag. Obviously, if it's that I didn't know about. Obviously, those those aspects, those questions, those facts are always quite interesting. But like Ricardo mentioned before, I don't think it's a number that's really gonna dictate what I can and can't do. I think it's the opportunity that arises. I feel like I'm more than capable and ready for this next step. So again, I think it's exciting to say that I'm young, but I feel like it's exciting to say that I'm ready.
You ever want to be a player coach?
Sorry?
Would you ever want to be a player coach?
We're working on that. Obviously, not being an international, I don't need housing, so there might be a comeback. There might be a comeback.
There you go.
If injuries go awry, maybe, right?
Exactly.
Sooner than later. You spent time there with the national team a couple of windows ago under Jesse Marsh as the community coach. Can you tell us about that experience? I mean, was it fun to be on the sidelines once again, coaching your bro as well?
Yeah, it was great. To be honest, the first kind of welcome and being involved in the daily meetings, the daily processes, the understanding of how these players are training at the clubs and bringing it into a new structure and a new way of playing and trying to gather all that, which is a lot in 8, 9, 10 days, just to see how quickly you have to prioritize certain aspects, just to understand, okay, this is where we're training, this is what we're training, and to get exactly what you want out of every training session. It was a very rich experience. It's not like you have a month or 6 weeks of preseason and you can try this, you can try that, you can test this, you can test that player out doing this. So there's a lot of homework done prior, and when everybody, the whole staff got together, exactly what the role was. The philosophy of how Jesse wants to play was very clear. The buy-in to the players, just that professionalism, that intensity of a training session, and then to be able to compete even at a higher intensity in a game. It was really an eye opener for me. The biggest thing, a lot of coaches at times are, we got to manage the loads here, we got to do this, we got to make sure that they're prepped for the games. And at first I was thinking, I was like, this might be a lot, and then all of a sudden the players get to the game and they even do more. So I was like, I kind of like this. So that's something I've always wanted to implement in the style of play that I want. High intensity, high tempo, and to see that it can be done in such a short turnaround. Just excites me more to kind of put that into the playing model and have a team with that type of bite.
You have a wonderful talent in JMO, who's getting a lot of attention around the world at the moment. How difficult is it going to be for you guys to keep him this season, or do you think you might end up losing him halfway through?
I mean, if we lose him, that's that's part of our job as well. We have to understand that this is a club that's growing. We want to be a club that is a trampoline for not only young Canadian talent, but for any talent. We want obviously to continue to do big things. The biggest thing that impresses me about Shola is the fact that he's grown so much this year on an emotional aspect that nothing really fears the kid. He just goes and takes on the big boys, the small boys, the experience. He just doesn't care. And then it's his mindset. Shola was always the first person on the field. Even when we were marking down the training session, I'd be like, hey, Shola, get your crew, get the nets. He was always the first one ready. He was always the last one leaving, picking up balls. And it was never, a couple goals, a couple assists, a couple good games that kind of took him away from that path. So I think he's a special player. There's a lot still to be done with him. He's not even close to being the total package. But it's exciting. It's exciting because we've worked with them so closely now, or I so closely now in particular for almost 2 years. He was with us training 2 years ago, and now we obviously gave him the contract last year. And he's someone that we wanna keep developing. I wouldn't say we want to keep him forever. We want to keep developing so he goes into bigger and better. But for that to happen, he has to be focused on York. He has to obviously continue doing what he's been doing in the last couple months. But he's on a good path.
He looks like a great kid in the dressing room too. The players seem to just absolutely love him, and just the reaction when he scores a goal on the pitch is quite special.
Yeah, he was a son to some, and he was a little brother to others. He was just that smile on his face when he did something good. He always wanted to do more. He listened from the older guys. He knew when to kind of take a hit, and that was I was actually talking about Shola the other day because I crossed paths with this U17 team in Costa Rica at the airport, and I was talking to one of the doctors and the physio, and Shola gained the respect. Shola came into training, got kicked around, got tossed around, and was never one to stay down, was never one to, put his arms up. And, that trust after a couple of weeks of getting kicked, of getting bruised, the players, understood this kid's here and he's he wants to be someone. He wants to learn. He wants to listen, and his capability of listening and learning so quickly, I think that's where the difference maker is you tell Shalita one thing, the next play he's already doing it. He has such an understanding of what the game is, and such an easy way of executing what he learns. And I think that's where the real talent is.
And I think he'll probably sell tickets himself, right? So, what an important player, both on and off the pitch for York this upcoming season. Listen, guys, thank you so much for this. Mauro, again, congratulations. We look forward to this season. Ricardo, I guess the hard work begins now. You now basically promised the entire fan base a brand new squad for next season. So that should be easy to accomplish. Thanks so much, fellas. And we'll get you back on real soon. And good luck in the off season.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
boys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.